I do a lot of ostrich boots, hippopotamus, American bison. I think hippopotamus has probably been about the craziest leather I've made boots out of.
Still making pigskin?
Yeah, in fact, I make a lot of pigskin boots. In fact, I made a pair of pigskin boots 2 weeks ago, I think. So pigskin's very, very durable. A lot of West Texas cowboys or working cowboys like to use pigskin because of the durability. So, everyone talks about elephant being durable, and in fact it is durable, but it has a premium price. And someone who wants a durable work boot but they don't want to buy elephant, I always recommend pigskin because pigskin's very, very durable.
Is hippo as durable? I heard hippo is...
So hippo, it's almost kind of like it's a trend right now to see when it's going to go out of style, but so far it's endured. I've made a couple pair of boots out of it, and it seems like it's going to be a really good leather. I've got 2 pair of hippos that are out right now, but they haven't been out long enough to know if they're, I think one pair is a year old, another pair is 2 years old, so I don't know if they're going to be.
And those haven't been out long enough to find their wear?
No, and that's a good thing that you bring up. A good pair of handmade boots. Someone who would come in the shop for the first time and they'd say, okay, I'm about to invest $1,500 on a pair of cowboy boots. What makes your boots better than whatever name brand I can go to the store and buy? And the longevity and how long they last. Coincidentally, the pair of boots that I'm wearing are 24 years old.
Holy cow.
That's kind of a testament to...
Did you make those?
No, the man who taught me to make boots made these. And so...
I'm married, and those are sexy boots on a guy.
Appreciate it.
Those are nice boots.
And they're bull hide, but just kind of a unique top. But the initial investment on custom boots, it's a lot of money for footwear. But then again, it's custom fitted. If you have any sort of problems, take care of that, and then they last forever. You just can't wear them out. Every single customer I measure, there's a size difference between the 2 feet. So when you go to Cavender's and you buy a pair of boots, you make a compromise. So you're going to be a little bit tight on one, but the other one feels really good, or one's going to be loose and the other one feels good. So you get the boots and you wear them, and you go through a break-in period. And no matter how long they last, they end up stretching out. And so a year down the road, the boots are going to be just real loose. You see a lot of guys roll over the heels on their boots. The way they walk or whatever, and the heel starts just kind of to the outside typically. What I do is a process called crimping. I take the leather and it's wet, and I stretch it on these boards and let it dry. These have actually been on there for about a week. But what crimping does is takes all the stretch out of the leather. And the idea behind that is I want your boots to fit you the same 10 years down the road as they fit the first day you put them on. So I don't want the fit to change. So that what I call growing your feet. So a pair of boots that has not gone through this process will actually stretch. Leather will stretch as you wear them, and you get more room in them, and real easy to kick off when you get home in the evenings. My boots, I want you to have to really pull to get them off. But I want to maintain that exact fit.
Right.
Otherwise, what would be the point of measuring your feet and going through the process of making it last if we're not going to have that size stay the same? So I do a process called crimping. And then the general construction of the boot, this is actually a liner. The liner is what's going underneath the foot. And then I start the construction process. I assemble the tops, to the vamps and to the hard counters, and then I side seam the boot. And then that's the point we're at now. I'm actually in the process of bottoming this boot. The next thing that will go in this boot will be a shank. And a shank offers support. The shank keeps the arch shape. A lot of store-bought boots will use a flat spring steel shank, and if you ride that shank in an oxbow stirrup, it'll tend to break. It'll snap right in half. When it snaps in half, then you don't have any support. you have to have the boot rebuilt. Well, store-bought boots typically aren't worth rebuilding. So to rebuild a boot completely, you know, it'd be $500 or $600. You've only got $200 or $300 invested in the boot,
Right.
which could be intentional. The factory wants the boot to not be rebuilt, so you buy another pair. Anyway, so I don't use spring steel shanks. I use a 40-penny nail that I beat on an anvil right behind you there. I beat half the thickness out of it, and so it's a big nail that lays in there. And the nail is extremely strong, and it supports your foot, it supports your weight. After the shank goes in, basically the sole goes on. The sole gets stitched on one of these stitchers over here. This is a 1936 model, Landis Model F. So it's a pre-World War II era stitcher. Whoa. And they still work just as well now as what they did back then. These came out of shoe and boot factories, and these machines were used every day, all day long, non-stop. So I use these machines once a week for 45 seconds, so they barely get used now. There's really not anything in current production. There's not any machines in current production nowadays that do a better job. So if you have a good machine, it's worth its weight in gold. It's like you actually quite literally give them a name, and you like just tell them how good looking they are every day. That way, keep them in a good mood.
Now you hand last. So you hand last everything over that mold?
Yeah, absolutely. So lasting is the stretching process, or the process of forming the boot around the last. Once we have the last size, I put an insole on the last. This is an insole. I channel the insole, and then I punch holes that go through the insole. Typically, your insole is going to be the foundation of the boot. Everything is connected to the insole one way or the other. So all the vamp, all the counters connected to the insole. I've got the shanks tied into the insole. The welt's tied to the insole, which the full sole will get stitched to the welt. So I do a lot of inlay work. I inlay logos for people. This is called an overlay or a foxing. People call it wingtips or what have you. This is kangaroo. So an overlay would be where you stitch one piece of leather on top of another piece of leather. I feel like I'm talented at doing inlay work, so I like to inlay, and what an inlay looks like would be this Texas. So whereas this black leather is overlaid on top of the tan leather, it could be reversed. This Texas could be inlaid into the black, and so what you do a cutout. You end up getting a little cutout piece, and I call that the plug. So on an inlay, I would fill this back into it. I did this design on some boot tops a few years ago. On the black piece of leather, I did these other cutouts and took the plug from the blue and backfilled it to the back, which made that design. And technically went even one further step and did the eyeball of the catfish. So that's a 4-layer deep inlay. This would be another example of an inlay, but some multiple layers. I think there's 5 or 6 stepping down. One-man shops in the United States, there's probably less than 100 of us. Not being prideful about it, but I think there's just something cool with being able to say that, you know, you can build a pair of boots from start to finish. You know, you can't help but feeling a little bit like, you know, I'm badass, you know.
Wait, stop. Anyway, if you like what I'm doing, subscribe to my Facebook, follow me on Instagram, throw me a pin on Pinterest if you can, and follow me.